Hello everyone, welcome to the Lightning Ball channel. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please do so and activate the notification bell. Your support fuels my continued efforts. In our previous episode, we discussed how Feldway's plan to eliminate Masayuki quietly unfolded while Rimuru and Veldora were away from the labyrinth. At this time, the labyrinth's guardians, having received soul gifts from Rimuru, had fallen into an evolutionary slumber, leaving almost no one to resist the sudden arrival of mystic angels. In a panic, Ramiris rallied her subordinates, including Trainee, the 4 Dragon Lords, and Cherries, tasking them with buying time. In this episode, we will delve into Ramiris's recollections, Masayuki's situation, and the tale of the 3 Mystic Admirals leaders. Let's get started. Ramiris was currently fraught with anxiety. She was wishing to live happily every day. As an administrator of the star, Ramiris was born at the dawn of creation and spent eons in solitude, relying on her elven subordinates to alleviate her loneliness. Thus, for her, the Monster Federation was an ideal sanctuary, and she did not wish to lose it. However, one unsettling event after another occurred. Rimuru departed for the Empire, Veldora's sister Velgrind attacked, and with a single strike, the first 50 levels of Ramiris's labyrinth, which she took pride in and were theoretically indestructible by physical means, were obliterated. Indeed, true dragons embodied such unreasonable power. Witnessing Velgrind, Ramiris recalled ancient memories she had forgotten. Back then, Veldora was a troublesome child, known as the Storm but governing wind, space, and water attributes. With his magical capacity second only to the creator god Veldonava, he was virtually invincible. However, Veldora's sisters possessed even more unimaginable power. Velgrind, who commands fire and acceleration, made the gap in magical capacity with Veldora seem negligible, dominating him with overwhelming strength. Yet, it was Veldora's elder sister, Frozen Dragon Velzard, who was truly formidable. Although known as Frozen Dragon, suggesting ice attribute mastery, her essence was something even more untouchable. Very few in the world knew the true nature of Velzard's abilities, countable on one hand. Ramiris was once among them, but due to the vast expanse of time, she had forgotten much. Of course, as readers, we understand Velzard as the manifestation of the concept of deceleration, wielding control over time. Returning to Ramiris, she vividly remembered how Velzard, with just a single strike, had annihilated a frenzied Veldora, along with her gaze that seemed as frozen and indifferent as if all of this were but natural. Thus, Ramiris's concern for the safety of Storm Dragon Veldora reached an extreme level. However, following Veldora's departure to confront Velgrind, the labyrinth suffered an intrusion. With the labyrinth's guardians still enveloped in slumber and facing opponents that included one of the 7 angels of origin, along with another 5 archangels, Ramiris had no choice but to dispatch her subordinates to buy as much time as possible. Let us now shift our focus inside the labyrinth, where Trainee and 2 other treants, the Greater Flame Elemental Cherries, and 4 Dragon Lords, each with an existence points tally of 700,000, stood against the invaders. This assembly represented the strongest force the labyrinth could muster at that moment. Meanwhile, Gobta and others were rallying the remaining forces on other floors, preparing for a desperate stand should Trainee and her group fail. Trainee, too, had a strategy in mind: to delay the invaders as long as possible while gathering as much intelligence on the enemy as she could. Through dialogue, Trainee learned that the leader of the invasion was Zalario, one of the 3 Mystic Admirals' leaders and a member of the 7 Angels of Origin, one of the earliest seraphim created by Veldonava. The 3 Mystic Admirals' leaders, who initially aided Spectre Lord Feldway in governing Otherworld and later evolved into Mystic Angels, commanded the Phantom Army. These 3 were Zalario, Abara, and Kornu. It is crucial to note that both Feldway and Zalario, in the Central World, did not inhabit their original bodies but instead used incarnate forms, which, while significantly reducing their combat effectiveness, protected the true selves bestowed upon them by Veldonava. Yet, even so, Zalario's existence value exceeded 3 million, a testament to his formidable strength. Zalario maintained a demeanor that was both elegant and disdainful in the dialogue, showing complete disregard for Trainee and the others, and made no effort to conceal his intention, which was to eliminate Masayuki. He plainly stated that the conflict could be avoided if Trainee handed over Masayuki. Naturally, Ramiris' side would never agree to such a condition. Masayuki, despite his carefree nature, was an irreplaceable companion. Thus, the battle became inevitable. With a leap, Trainee propelled herself forward and into the air, targeting Zalario with countless invisible blades. This technique, imbued with spatial properties capable of slicing through dimensions, should have been a formidable attack. However, Zalario didn't move an inch, not because he couldn't see the blades and react, but simply because he deemed it unnecessary to evade them. As the invisible blades enveloped Zalario from all directions, attempting to shred him to pieces, the space around him suddenly twisted, swallowing all the blades. This maneuver was something Trainee recognized. It was akin to the spatial distortion defense domain that Zijin excelled in, an absolute defense capable of nullifying various attribute attacks and spatial phase attacks. From Trainee's reaction, Zalario realized that there were individuals within the labyrinth capable of utilizing skills similar to his own, suggesting the intelligence he had received was inaccurate. Although Zalario sounded somewhat surprised, his expression remained indifferent, indicating he had not yet exerted his full strength. Realizing this, Trainee and Cherries exchanged glances, focusing on delaying the invaders. They understood that their situation was advantageous within the labyrinth, where they could exert power beyond their limits without concern for their own safety, enduring countless deaths and rebirths. In the worst-case scenario, they merely needed to deplete the enemy's strength bit by bit, forcing them to retreat. However, Zalario seemed to have enough patience to engage in a war of attrition, showing no rush to locate Masayuki. The astute Trainee quickly realized that Zalario's goal was also to delay time, predicting their strategy perfectly. This made sense. If the target was solely Masayuki, assassination would be the simplest approach. Thus, Zalario only needed to stall time, keeping the labyrinth's current strongest forces occupied while others attempted to assassinate Masayuki. It's worth mentioning that Feldway, aside from being powerful, is also a meticulous and detail-oriented individual, or rather, a perfectionist who accounts for all possible contingencies. This was why Feldway's followers placed their trust in him. Upon understanding the enemy's intentions, Trainee immediately used telepathy to instruct Ramiris to ensure Masayuki's safety. Meanwhile, Ramiris and Masayuki were evacuating civilians to safety. Receiving Trainee's message, Ramiris urgently directed Masayuki to the labyrinth's 70th floor, where the station's 700k Imperial troops could potentially buy time in the event of an assassin's attack. The focus shifts to Masayuki. Having only recently been tasked by Shuna with evacuating civilians, Masayuki was reluctantly sent to the 70th floor by Ramiris, who insisted without room for debate, forcing him to part from the trusting civilians. Given Ramiris' authority in the area, and her knowledge of Masayuki's secret lack of combat ability, he had no choice but to comply. At this juncture, Venom, who had been guarding Masayuki, patiently explained the situation. Venom suggested that since Veldora had gone to confront an adversary, a significant crisis must have arisen. If enemies approached, Masayuki might inadvertently endanger the civilians. This realization awakened Masayuki to the possibility that he might indeed be a target. To provide context, after Masayuki's identity as a non-combatant was revealed, Venom was ordered by Diablo to ensure his safety. During their time together, Venom, with his punk aesthetic, surprisingly got along well with the naive Masayuki. They quickly became confidants, with Venom earnestly listening to Masayuki's past and offering his assistance. Now close friends, Venom vowed to protect Masayuki at all costs, and together, they reached the labyrinth's 70th floor. At that moment, sensing something amiss, Venom quickly positioned himself in front of Masayuki. The assassin, frustrated by the inadequacy of his own body, glared at Masayuki with venomous eyes. His 6 white wings betrayed his identity as one of the mystic angel. His gaze harbored a ferocious beast, radiating with the light of calamity. Facing such an adversary sent Masayuki into a panic. Venom, determined to protect Masayuki, charged forward with all his might, launching an uppercut kick that whistled through the air and struck the enemy's head. However, the foe remained unmoved as if venom had kicked a boulder. The disparity in strength was clear. This enemy was also a super-awakened being, another of Feldway's 3 Mystic Admirals' leaders, Kornu. Kornu recognized Venom as one of Diablo's subordinates, declaring that the demons who have been hindering them since ancient times must be eradicated. Following this declaration, Kornu, with a gesture, launched a magic bullet at Venom, who was suspended in midair, at an unavoidable speed. In desperation, Venom managed to deflect the magic bullet with his left arm, which was then consumed by it, leaving a gaping hole on the left side of his abdomen. Masayuki rushed to assist the fallen Venom. Faced with such an overwhelming power gap, their fate seemed sealed. Yet, Venom remained unusually calm. Despite the significant difference in their strengths, Venom deduced that Kornu wouldn't kill Masayuki there due to the existence of the revival bracelets. Killing Masayuki in that location would only result in his revival elsewhere in the labyrinth, suggesting Kornu's intention to capture Masayuki alive and take him out of the labyrinth. For the same reason, Kornu couldn't use large-scale destructive magic, risking Masayuki's accidental death. Venom couldn't understand why Kornu was alone, but this isolation meant Kornu couldn't simultaneously restrain Venom and capture Masayuki. This situation had its reasons. As one of the 3 Mystic Admirals' leaders, Kornu once commanded subordinates. However, decades ago, during an invasion in another world, a mysterious scorching blaze appeared out of nowhere, annihilating the phantom army he led. This incident left him, although a marshal, without any subordinates. Since then, Kornu has been operating as if he has no reserves to draw upon. However, Venom's remarks hit a sore spot for Kornu. Enraged, Kornu decided to dispense despair to Venom and Masayuki. His body began to radiate a dazzling light, and a black and gold armor materialized around him, significantly amplifying his power. Facing this unexpected turn of events, Venom's expression darkened, realizing that their demise was imminent. Without Venom, Masayuki would undoubtedly be captured. Even if Venom were to be revived, facing Diablo's wrath would lead to his destruction once more. Venom felt an overwhelming urge to weep. Their only solution was for Venom to kill Masayuki to send him to safety. Just as Venom resolved to act, 2 figures appeared to protect Masayuki, the Empire's commanders, Kalgurio and Minutes. It turned out Ramiris's judgment was accurate. Upon hearing the commotion, Empire's commanders Kalgurio, Minutes, along with a host of overcomers, and even Bernie and Jiwoo, rushed to the scene. Despite their loss of power, their effort and innate talents allowed them to wield a certain level of magic and skills, making delaying tactics feasible. Most importantly, this provided Masayuki with a chance to escape. Kornu was hit in a vulnerable spot once again. Unable to deploy mass-destructive magic, he had to break through their defenses one by one, a task made challenging by his lack of subordinates. Seizing the opportunity, Bernie grabbed Masayuki, preparing to flee, while Jiwoo cast a spell to disguise herself as Masayuki. Then, in a moment when they obscured Kornu's view, Jiwoo transformed into a decoy Masayuki. At this critical juncture, Masayuki braced himself for what was to come. Back at the command center, chaos reigned. Monitoring indicated that the existence points of the 2 invading 3 Mystic Admirals' leaders exceeded 2 million each. Relying solely on trainee, cherries, or Venom for victory was utterly out of the question. Their only hope lay in delaying the adversaries. Desperate for a strategy to prevent Masayuki's capture, Ramiris pondered deeply, realizing that their entire effort would be in vain if Masayuki were taken. While brainstorming for countermeasures, Ramiris also communicated with Bernie, instructing him to head towards the command center during their escape. In case of an emergency, Bernie was to kill Masayuki, allowing him to resurrect within the command center. Amidst her anxiety, Ramiris couldn't help but lament how helpless they all seemed in Rimuru's absence, feeling a sense of powerlessness and wishing the Labyrinth Guardians would awaken to consolidate their forces, thereby avoiding such a passive situation. Nonetheless, she felt an overwhelming responsibility to address the current crisis. Just then, another urgent situation unfolded. Veldora's magicule supply, essential for the labyrinth's survival, was disrupted. In 10 minutes, Tempest City, situated at the labyrinth's bottom, would be forced to return to the surface, a consequence of Veldora being controlled and taken away by Emperor Rudra. Without Veldora, Ramiris couldn't sustain the already damaged labyrinth, making it inevitable to relocate Tempest City back to land, thus leading to significant destruction. Moreover, an emergency report arrived. 2 new adversaries, each with existence points over 1 million and classified as super-awakened beings, had appeared on the surface, hindering Ramiris's subordinates from repairing the damaged labyrinth. On the large screen of the command center, images of a muscular female warrior and a petite beautiful girl appeared, both adorned with 3 pairs of wings, another 2 of the fallen angels. One crisis after another left Ramiris feeling utterly helpless, no longer frantically moving about but instead sitting weakly on Beretta's shoulder. She was thoroughly disgusted by the enemy's strategy to deploy 4 super-awakened beings, even considering cursing them all night long. Fortunately, in this dire moment, reliable companions awakened. Barrier Lord Geld rose, declaring that a city bearing the name of Rimuru-sama would not be destroyed on his watch. Chimera Lord Kamara also awakened, ready to confront the petite angel. Their awakenings significantly boosted their powers. Geld's existence point, including his equipment, reached 2.37 million, while Kamara, even without specialized equipment, reached 1.9 million EP. Impressively, Geld's subordinates also awoke and were now dispersed on the ground, deploying barriers to protect the city above. Ramiris wept with joy. Although this turn of events was unexpected, everyone attributed it to Rimuru-sama's planning. Ramiris, embodying Diablo's mannerisms, began the usual praises for Rimuru-sama, with commendations of as expected from Rimuru-sama echoing through the command center. Ramiris's declaration of victory eased everyone's tension. However, if the Spectre Lord Feldway's scheming was only at this level, he wouldn't stand as the supreme being capable of leading the mighty phantom race. Feldway's plans were far from over. In fact, everything thus far might have been a mere feint. It was in the command center that the Shinji trio noticed Dino acting strangely and questioned his actions. Their inquiry unveiled Feldway's real agenda. Alright, that's all for this video. In our next episode, a greater crisis would come, with Demon Lord Dino revealing his true allegiance and initiating his betrayal, while Feldway would enter the labyrinth to commence his scheme. Chloe would join the fray but fell under Feldway's control at a critical moment. In these pivotal times, Masayuki would begin an extraordinary awakening process. Don't miss the next episode for more thrilling developments. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support is greatly appreciated. See you in the next one.